Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going over the Alsco Uniforms 500 at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Wednesday, May 27th at 8 p.m. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, you might as well hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be here all season long trying to help you guys become better NASCAR DFS players, and I do other sports as well whenever those return. So if you're going to be hanging around all season long, might as well hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the new content that I put out. And if you want to follow me over on Twitter, I'm at Pennell16. You can follow me on IG at CPenn16. And if you want to support my content over on Patreon, that's always much appreciated. I've been getting a lot more supporters on Patreon recently. We're almost at 200 people, which is awesome. I had less than 100 like over a week ago. So do appreciate all the support over on Patreon. I put a lot of extra time into the extra content that I put out. I feel like the projections have been pretty good so far. We've had, last night, we had some people take down tournaments. Someone won over $14,000, got first place in the $12. I got first place in my own contest as well, and pretty much the Discord was pretty much going off. So I feel like the projections were pretty good, and I do a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So if you do want to support over on Patreon, you can hit that link in the description below, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And this is just my join on Patreon page, so you get access to my entire NASCAR model, my cheat sheet, my data sheet, which I do preview for you guys on YouTube, my Discord chat where you guys can ask me all the questions you want. And I don't personally cover Xfinity, but if you guys do want Xfinity stuff, there's like a whole bunch of people in the Discord just talking about Xfinity. I'm not really participating, but if you want Xfinity help, they're in there, I guess. I do my projections, my core plays, my weekly article, my own tier rankings, my GPP exposure, so you know exactly where my money's going, and my own power rankings, which is the statistical based algorithm thing that I put on my spreadsheet. So it's unbiased, and then I have my biased rankings on my tier rankings. So if you guys are interested to support my content, you can feel free to do so. Hit that link in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into this slate. Alright, so quick preview of this race, and before I start that, the live stream is going to be doing a live stream on Wednesday, probably sometime in the afternoon Eastern time, because I know the race I believe is at 8, so we actually do have quite a while, and I don't have to do any extra work on Patreon after the fact, so it won't be as much of a time crunch. So we'll see when I do the time. I'll tweet that out on Twitter, obviously. But yeah, I do appreciate all the support in the live streams. I got up to about 500 people at once. On the other one, we had like over 1,400 people check in, so that was awesome. Do appreciate all the people that do stop in on the live stream. So if you don't want to miss on the next live stream, I'll just set a reminder and it'll be out there, and you guys can hit me up in the live stream. We have a lot of fun in there, a lot of questions. I try to answer you guys' questions, but I was getting a lot more questions than usual on Sunday. But yeah, it's a good time. Come in, hang out, and we'll answer questions, go over strategy. But anyway, this is the Alsco Uniforms 500. There's your outline of Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this is a large oval track, 1.5 miles in length. It's the same track they were at on Sunday, guys, so not much is changing here besides the distance. And that's going to be a big thing. We only have 208 laps this time. That's almost cut in half from the last race. The last race was 600 miles. This time it's 500 kilometers. So it's not 500 miles, it's 500 kilometers. So that's almost cut in half. And there's only 156 Dominator points available compared to the 300 that we had on Sunday. So that means Dominators are less important, and we have a lot of good PD plays. So if you want to just load up on PD plays, I totally get that. Or you can take an approach where you try to get the one Dominator and then mix it in with the PD plays. So I think there's several different strategies here, and the Dominators are starting up front. They're a lot cheaper. And we also have some guys that can dominate the race starting in the 20s as well. So I think it's a really interesting slate, and there's a lot of approaches you can take with this. So with that being said, I think that's all we have to cover in the preview. So let's just go over the driver by driver breakdown. And again, guys, these are my first thoughts. So I uploaded the spreadsheet, and I'm just giving you guys my first thoughts on the entire slate, and then all my polished thoughts will be on Patreon. So we're going through this together, and we'll see what we get. So up top, I figured this was going to happen. We have Jimmie Johnson at 12,300, and he's starting dead last. And if you guys aren't aware, you're probably wondering, why is Jimmie Johnson starting dead last? Well, first off, the way they did this qualifying order is if you finish how they finish 1 through 20th, they inverted it. So if you finish 20th, you're on the pole, vice versa, whatever you want to say. And then 21st through 40th, I should say, that stayed the same. But what you're probably asking is, didn't Jimmie Johnson finish second? He did, but then he got disqualified after the race. So his finishing position of second got disqualified, didn't get any points for that race, not fantasy-wise, but in real NASCAR. No points for that, no stage points, nothing, and he got disqualified, and he's finished last. So now he's going to start 40th, which means He's the best place differential play on the slate, but the problem is DraftKings on these Wednesday races, they like to do the pricing based on where they started. So we don't get, like last race, they qualified after salaries released, so DraftKings wasn't able to do that. But now since they already know the qualifying order, they priced it based on PD plays because, PD is huge in DraftKings for fantasy NASCAR, I should say. But yeah, Jimmie Johnson, he's starting dead last. There's only one way to move up, and that is up. Problem is, he's 12,300. That is a lot of money to play just for a PD play. Now, if he tops 12, he will get over 60 points. So I think he has top 12 potential. He's in that Chevy car. We know how fast Chevys have been this season. I mean, the guy finished second I guess he kind of cheated, but he still finished second, and he's been fast all season. Hendrick Motorsports has been great. They've been pretty much the fastest cars this season. You know how fast Byron's been, Chase Elliott, Jimmie Johnson, Alex Bowman. They've all been extremely fast. I don't see why that would change. Yes, I know he got caught cheating, but he's still going to be fast. But that's a lot of money to pay for a PD play. I do think he's extremely safe. I mean, he's one of the safest plays on the board. I have not tried to build lineups yet, so I don't know how easy he's going to fit in. If you're going to try to play a guy like Truex, Chase Elliott, Bowman even, although Bowman's not really that expensive, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin. So it's a lot of money to play for Jimmie Johnson for a guy that I don't think is going to dominate this race. And again, there's only 208 laps. So by the time he gets up front, it might just be too late at that point to get the dominator points. But if Jimmie Johnson finishes top 5, I think that's about almost 80 DraftKings points, so he'll be fine. So if you think he can get inside that top 10, yeah, he's going to be an absolute smash play. But if you don't think Jimmie Johnson's going to get inside that top 10 and you think a guy like Truex gets up front and dominates, yeah, Truex will outscore Jimmie Johnson. So although Truex has more risk because he's starting like 25 spots higher than Jimmie Johnson, so the PD upside's not there. So it's going to be interesting. I know there's a big price difference as well. So it's kind of fun how DraftKings does this pricing because it really makes you think. I'm going to have to see what my projections give me and lineups, but not so sure how easy Jimmie Johnson's going to fit, but he is an extremely good play. Just if you take salary out of the equation, I mean, he's going to be, his floor, just guess what my projections are giving me. I'm sure he's going to be well over 50 points, probably be closer to 60, to be honest. So, yeah, Jimmie Johnson's fine, and if you look at his track history at Charlotte, it's been amazing. He has an average finish of 6.7, which is second best of the past 6 races. Averaging nearly 65 DraftKings points per race, drive rating of 106.9, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s out of the past 6 races, 6 top 20s. So chances are he's going to crack the top 20, guys, and that's over 20 place differential spots. So, yes, I do think Jimmie Johnson is a very good play. I'm just interested to see how well he fits into lineups. But, yeah, I got no problem with Jimmie Johnson whatsoever. I'm just trying to trying to grasp how easy he's going to fit in my lineups because I am going to play him, obviously. So, we'll see. Definitely a guy you're going to want to look for in cash games, despite that high price tag. Because, look, there's only 208 laps, so even if he doesn't get up front lead laps, let's say there's like a few guys that lead laps and none of it's too substantial, although there probably will be one, but let's just say none of them lead over, 80 to 100 laps. I mean, these PD guys are going to be smash plays. So, yeah, Jimmie Johnson, obviously a really good play. Momentum this season. Hold on. It's been solid, average running position of 13, average finish of 12, 5 top 15s out of the past 6 races. So yeah, with Jimmie Johnson, you probably can lock in close to 60 points with a ceiling of close to 80 if you can get that top 8, top 5. So yeah, obviously a really good play. Clint Bowyer, he is starting 39th. I believe he cut a tire, smashed the wall. I forget exactly what it was, but I remember seeing him smash the wall. So Clint Bowyer did not have a good race. Now, he was close to the top 10. He was running pretty well. He was very fast in that second Darlington race, which was also at nighttime. So the only problem is he's super expensive, but, again, he's going to move up. I don't think he's got the finishing position potential that Jimmie Johnson does, but I still think he's a good play. He's a little bit cheaper. He's starting 39th. Not the greatest track for him, but again, these numbers are going to be skewed a little bit from what happened last race. So he's got an average finish of 22.3, but he has an average running position of 19.8, which usually does paint a better picture. But overall, this has not been a very good track for Clint Bowyer, only averaging 67.9 average drive rating here, 16.6 DraftKings points. Does have 2 top 15s, but that's out of the past 6 races. Now that's not great. Only 3 top 20s in the past 6 races. Only 50% of the time he's cracking the top 20 here. Again, got a little bit unlucky in the last race. He was running pretty well, but I don't think there's like zero chance Clint Bowyer dominates this race. If you look at his track type form at large ovals the past 10 races, only averaging 13 DraftKings points at these, 22.6 average finish. I mean, I'd much rather play Jimmie Johnson at a similar price tag. I'll more than likely have more ownership on Jimmie Johnson, even though he's a little bit higher. But, I mean, Jimmie Johnson's just had a stronger card this season. Chevys have been fast. I don't know, I just feel it's hard for me to trust Clint Bowyer. Bad things usually happen to the guy, but it's not like he's having a bad season at all. He's got an average running position of 15.3, which is close to Jimmie Johnson. One top 5, only one top 10, though. It could be an issue. Jimmie Johnson's got 4 top 10s so far, so definitely trust Jimmie Johnson more right now. But I'm not gonna have 0 Clint Bowyer. I'm just gonna have more Jimmie Johnson. But they're both good plays, obviously, for where they're starting. Denny Hamlin, he comes in at 11,200, and if you guys played Denny Hamlin, your night was over before the race even started, and I felt really bad for anyone that played Denny Hamlin. So I built 150 lineups, but I only ended up having like 2% Denny Hamlin, so I came out unscathed there. But if you guys played Denny Hamlin, man, I felt really bad because when he rolled off pit road to do the pace laps before the race, something fell off his car. I forget exactly what it was called. I think it started with a G, but fell off his car. He had to go down pit road. He was like 8 laps down when they started the race, so his night was screwed as soon as it started. So it sucked for Denny Hamlin, but this now means he's going to be a pretty good PD play. Now he's starting 29th, so it's not like he's 35th or back, which is an absolute lock. But starting 29th, the guy's got top 5 potential, but I don't think he's going to dominate this race, so it's a tough decision because he doesn't typically dominate at Charlotte. Now, he's only averaging 22.8 laps led, 23.5 fast laps, but just remember, most of these stats are based off a 600-mile race. Now we only have, 312 miles. So, if you take all these averages, you got to bump them down a little bit. So, I don't think Denny Hamlin's going to go up front, but he does have 3 top 5s the past 6 races at Charlotte, so I think he's got top 5 potential. And if he does that, it'll pay off his price tag. But if he runs into problems and only finishes around 15th or 10th, that's a lot of price. That's a lot of salary to pay for a guy that didn't move up too much. So I think it's a little bit riskier than playing Jimmie Johnson just because he's starting 11 spots higher. But I do think Denny Hamlin has potential at top 5, and it would never surprise me if he gets up front. I just don't think it's likely he dominates at any point of this race, but he's been fine at large ovals. He's having an okay season. He does have a win. One was off rain shorted, and then the other one was at Daytona, but I exclude that stat because Daytona is just a mess anyway. So I exclude Daytona, but he's got an average finish of 13.2, which starting 29th, if he got his average finish, yeah, we'll take that. It's just I'd like a little bit more for 11,200, but it's still fine. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, so he's going to move up. We know that, but man, it's a lot of price to play. It's a big price to pay for just straight PD, but again, PD is going to be pretty important here with the shortened race of only 312 miles. So, yeah, you're going to want some Denny Hamlin. I'm just curious to see how much I'm actually going to end up with. I guess we'll have a better idea of that on Wednesday during the live stream. Kyle Busch, he comes in at 10,500. It's weird seeing Kyle Busch not being the most expensive driver. It's weird. He's been the most expensive driver almost every slate for as long as I can remember. Sorry, the video just cut. I had to take a drink. Throat's a little dry. Yeah, Kyle Busch, he did not perform that well for us on Sunday. Now, he was getting close to the front. Got hit with the speeding penalty. Kind of screwed his day. But he qualified 7th. You guys know what I mean by qualified. He qualified 17th. He's 10,500. He's got the potential to get up front, lead laps. We know how great he is at Charlotte. Problem is, this is a much shorter race. So, starting 17th, it's going to take him a little bit to get up front, and at that point, I don't know if it's going to be too late for him to hit the optimal or not. So, not as big of room for error for these guys that are starting in the teens to dominate, but I definitely like their PD upside, and Kyle Busch certainly can win this race, and he can certainly lead 100 laps if he gets up there quick, which is definitely possible. So yeah, I wouldn't rule Kyle Busch out of hitting the optimal. I like his reduced price tag of 10,500. That's the cheapest I've seen him in a while, and we know how good he is at Charlotte, averaging 82.6 DraftKings points per race. Average finish is 7.7, which is third best. Average running position of 8.3, drive rating 117.1, 4 top 5s the past 6 races, 1 win. And what did he finish? 4th the last race? Starting 17th? Yeah, he finished 4th. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, he had a fine race, but we wanted him to dominate at that price tag, so it kind of sucked, but he still got a little bit of PD upside. Definitely didn't hit the optimal lineup, though. You have to dominate the Coke 600 to hit the optimal if you're going to be that expensive, more likely than not. But yeah, there's nothing bad I can say about Kyle Busch. Numbers are obviously off the charts. Great at large ovals. Got the best numbers for them almost of every single statistical category. Average finish of 8.5, which is better than all drivers. running position of 9.7, 6 top fives the past 10 races. I mean, obviously the guy's a smash play most times at Charlotte and large ovals. So he's 10,500. That's a lot of price to pay. Doesn't have as much PD upside, but I mean, I can definitely see the guy getting first, and I probably think he top fives. I mean, if you had to ask me if I think Kyle Busch top fives or not, I'd more than likely say yes. So that's at least 12 PD points, and then you get the finishing position, and you get the potential for fast laps and laps led. So yeah, Kyle Busch, definitely want to sprinkle him in. Not sure how much I'm going to actually have yet, but I like the price on him. We don't usually get Kyle Busch at this price tag, so definitely have interest. Brett Keselowski at 10K. He won the race out of nowhere. He was not really there all night long, and then at the very end, Chase Elliott pit for some reason. No idea what he was thinking there. And then Keselowski had the clean air, and he won the race because clean air was king last night, if you guys didn't notice that. Clean airs were way more important than tires. So yeah, Keselowski, he won. He's starting 20th now. He's 10,000. I feel like he could be a little bit more starting 20th, but this has not been his greatest track, even though I know he just won here. He didn't really dominate the race that much, but still averaging nearly 40 DraftKings points per race. Got a win. It just happened last night. Yeah, last night. 2 top fives. I mean, he's not bad here by any means, but 5 top 20s the past 6 races, so he's pretty much a lock for PD upside. I just don't really see him dominating, and at 10,000, I'd rather play Kyle Busch. I'd much rather play the guys below him in Chase Elliott, Truex, and Harvick, so I don't think I'm going to have too much Keselowski, but starting 20th, you can probably sprinkle him in. You know, obviously, he's been fast this season, so I don't mind Kes. If we look at his current momentum, he's got an average running position of 9, average finish of 6.8, which I believe is second best, only behind Kevin Harvick. So yeah, he's having a great season. 3 top fives the past 6 races, I believe, and does have a win, which was obviously last night. 6 top 15, so he's pretty much a lock to move up. And 32.7 laps led, which I believe is third most. So Kes is fine. It's just I really like the guys that are a little bit cheaper than him. I think they're better plays and they're probably gonna be better values, and I like their chances of getting up front better. So not that interested in Kes, but he's fine. Chase Elliott, he comes in at 9,700. I was all over Chase last night, and it was looking rough to start. Well, not really to start, more mid-race, because it was right before his stage ended. He ended up staying out, and it just didn't work for Chase. It worked out for Logano because he had the clean air, but Chase and Harvick both stayed out. They got sucked to the very back. They were like 18th and 19th. Last cars on the lead the lead lap, and it kind of screwed them for a while. But then after that, Chase was on a rocket ship. He got all the way up to 6th place. And then something happened. I think it was on pit road. Then he got up to 2nd. Then he obviously passed Keselowski near the end of the race. And then he almost won the race until William Byron, his own teammate, cut a tire, wrecked. I forget exactly what happened, but it was 2 laps left. Screwed Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott pits for some reason, which makes absolutely no sense. As soon as that happened, I was like, all right, there goes Chase's chance of winning. I don't know what he was doing. I was so mad because I had a lot of Chase Elliott. But he still got those dominator points, still had around 75 fantasy points, and he's the same exact price tag, I believe. He was 9,700 on Sunday, and he's 9,700 again, and now he's starting 19th. And if he was starting 3rd and I liked him, I don't see why we wouldn't like him starting 19th. He was extremely fast last night. I believe he was 3rd in green flag speed, just behind Alex Bowman and Martin Truex Jr., and his car looked great all night long. Chase Elliott actually has the fastest average green flag speed this entire season out of anybody, so he's been the fastest car. He was really fast at Vegas, which is a very comparable track to Charlotte that we've had so far this season. So I don't see why we wouldn't like Chase Elliott. I've been kind of riding the Hendrick train so far this season, and it's been working. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, man, they have been smashing. And starting 19th, Chase Elliott has the potential to win this race, and I think he can certainly get up front at some point. So see no reason at all to not like Chase Elliott. He's got 3 top fives here the past 6 races, which is a 50% success rate on that. Averaging 32.7 laps led, 26 fast laps. He's been fast all season. If you look at the momentum so far this year, average running position is 7.9, which I believe is 3rd best. Average driver rating of 110.2, 3 top fives, averaging the 3rd most laps led, 2nd most fast laps. So yeah, Chase Elliott, he's been fast all season, starting 19th. He's below 10K. I like him a lot. Definitely going to get some Chase Elliott. Martin Truex Jr., he comes in at 9,400. I think this is just way too cheap for Truex. I know there's not going to be 400 laps again, guys, so the dominator potential isn't as high as usual. But Truex is so good at Charlotte. Would it really surprise anybody if he gets up front and leads 50, 60 laps? I know he's not starting up front, so it might be hard to lead over 100, but starting 15th, I mean, I think Truex is going to be there at the end. I mean, he had a great race last night. He was the fastest car all night. He was first in green flag speed. He just could not get past Bowman. I mean, the package last night, man, these guys could not pass for the lead. Finally got lucky and was able to go down low on Bowman and pass him. But, man, they could not pass guys. They were just getting sucked up. And I mean, if you didn't have clean air, you were kind of toast. But, yeah, Truex was fast all night long. And as soon as he passed Bowman, he checked out. So I see no reason why that speed wouldn't be there again. And we know how good Truex is at night. We have another night race. He's super good at Charlotte. I mean, he's averaging nearly 100 DraftKings points per race here, guys. Average finish of 4.5. 2 wins, 4 top 5s. I mean, the guy's an absolute god here, averaging nearly 90 laps led per race. If you look at his numbers at large ovals, they're going to be elite as well. Not going to just read all the numbers because you guys get the idea. Truex is very, very good. He's intermediate 1.5 mile tracks. He's been having a good season so far. Average running position of 14.8 is a little bit misleading because he did wreck in the one race. I believe it was Phoenix, if I remember correctly. But he's got an average running position of 8.6, which I believe is only behind Bowman and Harvick, and Chase Elliott. So he's been great all season long. Just got a little bit unlucky early on, but we know he's going to be fast. Not surprising me if he wins this race, and he's at 9,400. So I mean, Truex, Elliott, I love these prices. We had Truex at 10,600 the last race. Yes, I know there was more laps to be led, so I mean it was more of a priority to get in those dominators. But starting 15th, he's got PD upside as well, and look, he's about 2,000 cheaper than Hamlin. I don't think Hamlin's going to dominate at any point of this race. So even if Hamlin gets a top 10, that's going to be a lot of points. But let's say Truex gets up front, leads 50 laps, and still gets a top 5 or even wins the race. He's going to outscore Hamlin, and you get to save about 2,000. So it's interesting on what to do. Do you want to take the safer PD upside with Hamlin, or do you want to play a little bit riskier, take the discount with Truex, and hope he can win that race, which there's many approaches you can go. So I think Truex is an excellent option. He should probably still be above 10K just because of how good he is here. So I think you are getting a really nice value on Truex. Kevin Harvick, he is starting 16th. He is 9,200, and he was pretty much junk all night last night. Sorry, get another drink. But Kevin Harvick, I was just saying, he looked like junk. He could not move up. He was stuck in the same exact spot pretty much the entire race, it seemed like. The guy could not get anything moving. And the thing is, I had a good amount of Kevin Harvick. I played a lot of Chase Elliott. I played a lot of Truex, and I played a lot of Bowman, but I also played a lot of Harvick, and those lineups did not do that well, because obviously those other guys are much better plays, and I also had a lot of Kyle Busch too, but yeah, Harvick, nothing was going on. I mean, he's great at intermediate tracks. He's been having a great season so far, first in momentum, the numbers are absolutely elite. The guy could just not get anything going. I mean, the guys couldn't pass in the back. I mean, some guys were able to. I know Ryan Blaney was just flying through the field, but there were some guys that were just stuck the entire race, and one of them was Kevin Harvick. The guy could just not get moving, but he's starting 16th. Now, he started 22nd last race, so it doesn't give me much hope because he could barely move up, but he did finish the race strong because starting 16th, what did he finish? I forget exactly. Is it 5th? 4th? Something like that. He finished strong, but for the most part, see, I'm not saying he was complete trash the entire night. He did move up at the end, but I wanted him to dominate at some point because I paid a lot of money for Kevin Harvick. I didn't just want PD upside out of Harvick. I was hoping for him to get up front, at least lead around 50 laps. Did not happen. Starting 16th, he's fine now because he's not over 11,000 now. He's 9,200. So I do like the price tag with Harvick, and he does have the potential to dominate. Do I think it's as likely as someone as Chase Elliott or Martin Truex? Probably not, because I feel like the guys that were going to be that were fast on Sunday are going to be fast again on Wednesday, and Harvick was not that fast. He did not show up that well in the green flag speed, the ratings that I have in the spreadsheet. So it puts me a little bit more down on him. I'd rather play Truex. I'd rather play Elliott, but I still think Kevin Harvick's fine. You should probably have exposure to him. It's not too often you get Kevin Harvick at 9,200, so I don't mind taking some steps at that price tag for sure. And he's probably going to race better than that more often than not. I'm not saying he had a bad race, but for most of the night, the guy could not pass anybody. He was stuck in like 18th. But did finish the race strong. Should say. But yeah, Charlotte's been good for him. He just really hasn't won. He hasn't been notching too many top 5s. But again, he's only 9,200 this time. So he's averaging 42 DraftKings points per race here. Not terrible. Average finish to 17.5. Not great, but he also got, he got into some damage the one race. Average time position of 14.7, driver rating of 94.1, only one top 5, but 3 top 10s. I mean, the PD upside's obviously there. we're kind of hoping he can dominate, but at least he's not above 10K or 11K. 9,200 eases the salary relief a little bit, so it makes him definitely more viable. But if you look at his numbers at large ovals, intermediate tracks, Kevin Harvick's been smashing, just right up there with Kyle Busch and Martin Truex and Alex Bowman. But average finish of 9.2, 2 wins, 9 top 15s, averaging the second most laps led, I believe the second most fast laps, just behind Alex Bowman. Momentum this season, he's obviously been one of the best cars, averaging 72.3 Draftkings points per race, average finish of 4.8, running position of 7. These are the best of anybody so far this season. Average driver rating of 113.2, 1 win, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. The most laps led, third most fast laps. Yeah, Kevin Harvick has been very good this season. I know it was not as good as you would have hoped last night, but the PD upside's there. He took a big hit in salary, so definitely like an underpriced Harvick. Kurt Busch, he's starting 14th. So I did play a good amount of Kurt Busch because he was on the pole, and I figured I took the chance. I thought Chase Elliott would get out front really quick. That was not the case, so I was glad I did hedge that a bit with some Kurt Busch. I think I had around 28% Kurt Busch. I figured he'd be anywhere from 25 to 30% owned. Wasn't really sure what to do with him, so I just kind of tried to be even with the field. I ended up a little bit overweight, which I guess I wasn't too thrilled about. But he did lead the first portion of the race, and again, clean air was king, so he got out front for a while, ended up losing that, obviously, but Alex Bowman just ran away with it after that. But Kurt Busch is fine starting 14th. It's just, look, Kevin Harvick's only 200 more, and if you're telling me I can get Kevin Harvick for only 200 more, that's starting 2 spots further back than Kurt Busch, yeah, give me all the Kevin Harvick in that scenario. But I can definitely see Kurt Busch being very low owned if you want to get a little bit contrarian. And this has been a good track for him. Average running position of 11, 4 top 10s the past 6 races here, which is more than Kevin Harvick can say. So he's got that going for him. Although Kurt Busch has not been as strong as Kevin Harvick this year, but I view him as more of a contrarian play because, look, Harvick's going to be chalky. Truex is going to be chalky. Elliott's going to be chalky. Kurt Busch is certainly going to be the lowest owned in this tier. So if I'm going to be a little bit more contrarian, I get it. If you look at his numbers at large ovals so far in the past 10 races, average finish of 9.7, does have a win, 7 top 10s the past 10 races is pretty good. He's been having a decent season so far, average finish of 10, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. So yeah, don't mind Kurt Busch. I don't think he's going to get front lead laps. It only happened because he was on the pole last race, but he's done it before. So definitely going to be the lowest owned for me in this tier, but I wouldn't hate if you sprinkled him in just for where he's starting. And he's going to be really low owned if you want to get a little bit different, because there's probably going to be a lot of chalk this week. Kurt Busch might not be the worst way to get a little bit different, but I'm not that high on him. Joey Logano to start off this 8K tier. He comes in at 8,900. Got to make sure my camera's not blurry. It is not. So yeah, Joey Logano starting 8th, 8,900. As cheap as we're probably going to see Joey Logano all season, unless a similar scenario happens on another Wednesday race, but I still don't have that much interest because I don't think he's going to dominate. I feel like he finishes right about where he starts. I don't expect too much out of Joey Logano. This has not been the greatest track for him. He's only has an average driver rating of 75.7 here. Average running position is 17.1. Only 1 top 5. I'm not that high on Joey Logano. I'd much rather play Alex Bowman right below him because Alex Bowman's been an absolute monster so far this year and at these types of tracks. And we know what he did last night here at Charlotte. Just overall, at large oval tracks, though, Joey Logano, very, very good at them. But just to be honest, I don't have that much interest in him. Yes, he does have 2 wins this season, and he's been having a great year so far. If you just look at the numbers statistically, average finish of 8.7, running position of 8.4, high driver rating. It's just starting 8th. I don't really like him that much. I'm not sure if I'll even have any. I might maybe a couple, because I am building 150. I might have a couple of Logano, but I don't think he's going to grade out that well in my projections. I would much rather play Alex Bowman or maybe even William Byron. So, speaking of those two, let's talk about him. So, Alex Bowman, he comes in at 8,700, and I've been playing a good amount of Alex Bowman so far this season. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses. But he was a definite hit last night. That guy, he took 2 tires. It worked out because clean air was king. He got up front. And man, he ran away with that. I believe he led 163 laps. I think it was 160 something. But yeah, he dominated. Now at the very end of the race, he dropped all the way to 20th, which then got bumped to 19th because of the Jimmy Johnson disqualification. But yeah, Bowman, even though he finished 20th or 19th, whatever you want to call it, he still scored over 80 DraftKings points. That guy smashed, and man, I was so happy I was overweight on him because I thought he was too cheap coming into the week. I think he was 9,400. The guy should be over 10K. And I know they priced this based off qualifying spots, but I don't think there's a good reason Alex Bowman's 8,700. He should at least be somewhere in the 9K range because he's on the front row. And if I had to trust who's going to lead more laps between Bowman and Byron, it's just going to really depend on who gets the better restart. But, I mean, I would take my chances with Bowman more than likely because we know how good he was last night. I don't expect that to change. Now, Byron was fast too last night, but, man, Bowman has just been so dominant so far this season. If you look at his numbers at large ovals, he's almost in his own tier. Not really in his own tier, but he's got some really strong numbers. He's actually averaging the most DraftKings points per race at these types of tracks. I mean, he's got 2 wins the past 10 races here, which is tied with Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski for the most. He's got 106.6 drive rating, which is right only behind Kevin Harvick by 0.1. Average rank position 9.4. I mean, all of his numbers are just elite. 61.8 DraftKings points per race, averaging the most laps led, the most fast laps by 0.8. But yeah, I mean, Alex Bowman, these are his kind of tracks, and he's just been smashing. And Chevys have been so fast this season. Hendrick Motorsports has just been so fast. If you look at his numbers this season, he's averaging the second most DraftKings points per race, only behind Kevin Harvick. Average running position of 6.3, which is better than any driver. Average drive rating of 110.9. I mean, all these numbers are extremely good, averaging 52.5 laps led. There's nothing bad I can say about Alex Bowman. Now, what makes it hard to play him this week is that he is starting second, and there's not as many laps led potential, because we only have 156 Dominator points available compared to 300. So a much shorter race, so it makes Dominators a little bit less important, but we're still probably going to want at least one. I mean, you can get away with all PD just because of how far some of these guys are starting back, but if you can nail a Dominator that leads close to 100 laps of this race and get some PD guys in, that's probably how you're going to win a GPP. For cash, yeah, you probably want to stick to these these PD guys. But if you want to win a tournament, and if there's a guy that leads 100 laps, you're probably going to want him in your lineup. And Alex Bowman's definitely a favorite of mine to do that. I mean, obviously, Elliott, Truex, Harvick can all do that as well. But Bowman's starting up front. And if he can lead a good amount of this race and stay in the top 5, yeah, I mean, there's a good chance he can make the optimal, especially at 8,700. That's way too cheap for Alex Bowman. He's a 10K driver, as is Chase Elliott, as is Truex, as is Harvick, or honestly, those guys are 11K drivers, so you're all getting discounts here. But yeah, Alex Bowman, I like him. He is starting right beside William Byron, though, and Hendrick has been fast, so it would not surprise me if Byron led a good amount of this early portion of this race. So if you want to play William Byron and Alex Bowman, maybe split your ownership on that, I totally get it, because I feel like one of these guys leads the laps early on, and they've both been fast. Obviously, they're both teammates. Hendrick Motorsports, it's been so fast. And Chevys, man, speed is real. It's not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, they got it down. So I do like William Byron. I do like Alex Bowman. Just Alex Bowman overall has been the stronger car so far this season. William Byron is not someone we typically think of as a dominator. But with Alex Bowman, we typically view him as a dominator. So I feel like I can trust Alex Bowman more. But William Byron does have the advantage starting first because he can control the restart. And he's going to, obviously he gets his preferred lane, and clean air has just been absolutely king. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins that restart. Maybe if you want to split your ownership between Byron and Bowman, I get it. They're both decently cheap, and they're both going to be fast. So I like both. Obviously, William Byron's numbers aren't going to be as strong as Alex Bowman's, but the reason we would have interest in William Byron is because he's got the clean air starting first. Well, obviously, Alex Bowman has clean air too, but William Byron does have the advantage because he can control the restart there. So we'll see who wins the first shootout when the race starts, but it's going to be interesting. I plan on having some exposure to Byron and Bowman just in case, they can dominate the race, but they're not as safe as the guys like Harvick, Truex, Elliott, just because they can't move up as much, and there's more downside for them to lose spots. So just be a little bit careful with them, but I like their chances of leading some laps early. Going down to Bubba Wallace, he is 8,300. Look, I like playing Bubba. He's been really good this season, but 8,300 for Bubba? DraftKings is just getting a little bit mean here. 8,300 for Bubba Wallace. Now, prior to getting absolutely screwed last race, if you played Bubba, Bubba's made you happy so far this season. He was very, very good. Before last race, he had an average running position of 17.8. That number has now gone down to 24.6. Again, those numbers are a little bit skewed because I think he lost his brakes, which he had to go into the garage. That's going to screw your entire race up. So these numbers are going to look a little gross compared to what they were before on Sunday. His average finish was also 17.8. I think average running position was 21, but numbers were much better. Now they're a little bit grosser, but starting 38th, yeah, he's going to move up. The problem is he's not a guy we typically think that can get a top 10, top 15. Like, we have Ryan Blaney at 7,900. Yeah, he's starting 18th, so the PD upside isn't there, but the guy has a legit chance to get a top 5. We saw how fast Ryan Blaney was. He got all the way up to 4th or 3rd at one point the last race. If I remember correctly, I don't think he got up to 2nd, but yeah, Blaney was fast all night. He's got much higher finishing potential than Bubba Wallace. And if Bubba Wallace is stuck in those mid to late 20s the entire race, 8,300 is a lot to pay just for that. So I don't hate the idea of just going with someone that can finish a little bit higher than Bubba Wallace. I think he's way overpriced. I'm going to have to see what my projections give him, but man, to make the optimal at 8,300 if you're Bubba Wallace, I mean, that's going to be tough. If he top 20s, it's possible, but man, he is extremely, extremely overpriced. Like, Byron's only 500 more, or 400 more, and he's got dominator potential. Bubba Wallace has zero chance to dominate this race at all. So, I mean, if you feel safer with Bubba at starting 38th, I don't hate it because he can top 20, but man, that's a big price to pay for someone like Bubba. Now, Matt Kenseth, he comes in at 26th at 8,100. This is interesting. So this season so far, he's got an average running position of 17.7. Not too bad. Average finish of 22.3 is not that great, but he does have a top 15 so far, but I don't love it. 8,100 though, it's not a bad price tag. We know Kenseth is a good driver. We know he's in good equipment in that 42 car. But I don't know. I don't know what to do with Kenseth. If you look at his numbers, you would think, oh, this is the easiest play in the world. Average finish at 12.2, 2 top 5s. But don't forget, guys, he was retired, and he was in a JGR car, which JGR historically performs very, very well at Charlotte. So it's different circumstances now. He's interesting, though. I definitely wouldn't mind having some Matt Kenseth starting 26. I think he moves up. It's just, I don't know. Would I rather play Ryan Blaney? Possibly, for sure. I'm a big Blaney guy, and he's way too cheap. Look, at 8,100, I was saying at the beginning of the week, whenever I first uploaded my video for Sunday, I was saying all week, I was banging that drum. Ryan Blaney is way too cheap. Just start outside the top 10, and I'll have interest. Starting 18th at 7,900, I feel like I'm going to go back to the well, and I guess that's all I'm going to talk about with Kenseth. So let's just transition into Ryan Blaney starting 18th. He's below 8K, guys. He should not be below 8K. He had an amazing race. He's starting 18th. He had a top 5 last race. It was very good for Ryan Blaney. And I was telling you guys, his numbers looked pretty awful at Charlotte, but he was just getting a little bit unlucky. And his numbers so far this season didn't look all that great, but he was just getting unlucky. And I also said let me just check my camera. Oh, we're good. I also said at Vegas, he was the fastest in green flag speed, and that was our most comparable track to Charlotte so far. And look again, at a comparable track, he was super, super fast. He was flying through the field. He started 26th, and he got a top 5. I mean, Ryan Blaney absolutely crushed it. I forget how many points he scored, but he went absolutely off at a cheap price tag, and now we get him a little bit cheaper. I know he's not starting in the mid-20s now, but 18 is still not bad for a guy that can get top 5. If you look at his average running position at this track, 13.8, which I'll take that. He has a top 5, 2 top 10s. I mean, if you look at his numbers at large ovals as well, he's got an average running position of 10.8. That's better than William Byron. That's better than... I was just going to say it's better than Joey Logano, but it's not. I wanted to make that point. But it is better than Chase Elliott. It's better than Keselowski. It's better than Hamlin. It's better than Clint Bowyer. It's better than Jimmy Johnson. So I like Ryan Blaney's chances of getting another top 10. And at 7,900 starting 18th, if he goes a little bit lower than he should because he's not starting in the back, that's even better for me. I think he's a really, really strong GPP play. He's too cheap. I mean, I don't see why Ryan Blaney can't be a good play at 7,900. So, yeah, I like Blaney. Numbers this season won't look as pretty, but the guy's just been getting unlucky. He was top 2 in green flag speeds at Vegas and Charlotte, which are the only large ovals that we've been at so far this season prior to Sunday. And that speed was at another large oval so far this season. So I think the speed's going to be there. I think Ryan Blaney's a pretty good play. Erik Jones, he's starting 10th, and this is probably where I expect him to finish, right around 10th. So he's not really someone I have too much interest in. I mean, he's going to be low for sure, so if we're just going to get a little bit different, but not too interested there. Now, Erik Jones' numbers here are going to look a little bit skewed because of the one race, I think it was last year. think it was last year. He was strong in practice. I played a lot of them, but he was like the first guy that wrecked out, so he finished dead last. So it's going to hurt his numbers, but he does have 4 top 20s here in 5 races. So besides the one race where he wrecked, it's been a strong track for him, and he is in a JGR car, and we know how good Toyotas have been, or JGR as a whole, at Charlotte. So he's fine. If he can stick around the top 10, it's not the worst play at 7,800, but I'd much rather play Blaney at 7,900 just because there's way more PD upside, and I think Blaney has a good chance of finishing above Erik Jones. So not too interested in Erik Jones starting 10th, but I mean, I think he can stay around the top 10. Tyler Reddick starting 13th. This guy is so good. He's 7,600. He's just a really good driver. He finished 9th, and look, he's starting 13th, but he has the potential to top 10 again, and I feel like no one's going to play Tyler Reddick starting 13th, because why would you? You got Blaney, 300 more at 18th. You got Erik Jones starting 10th, which I guess not that exciting, but right below him you got Newman at 27. Even Stenhouse is 24th. So I don't think anyone's going to play Reddick. So if you want to get a little bit different in tournaments, it's not the worst play in the world. The guy's got top 10 upside. He was fast. He's been fast all season. And I don't think that's going to go away. I know he's a rookie. It's tough to trust rookies, but I mean, he handled the 600 pretty well, so I don't mind Reddick. I mean, he's been good this season, like really, really good for a rookie. Has an average running position of 14.7, which I know is one spot below his qualifying spot, but he's having a good year. 2 top 10s, 4 top 15s. I think he can hang around where he starts with the upside of moving up a little bit. So not the worst tournament to play in the world. Definitely not going to go there in cash games. Ryan Newman, he was very high owned. I was saying it all week with Ryan Newman and Ryan Blaney that they were just way too cheap, and they priced him correctly. I said he's more of a 7,500 driver, and that's where they priced him. So maybe DK was listening. I know they weren't, but yeah, it's probably right where he should be. And now he's starting 27th, so I think Newman's a pretty good play. I mean, it's not like he's been bad here. He's got an average running position of 18.5. The race sucked for him last night because of a battery issue, but before that, he was crushing. He was in the top 10 for a decent amount of the race. And does have a top 5 here, 2 top 10s. I see no reason why we can't play Ryan Newman. His numbers are going to suck a little bit in the momentum just because of how he finished last race. But even with that, numbers aren't terrible, but they went down. Average running position of 16.1. Does have a top 15, 2 top 20s. Average finish of 19th. 7,500 starting 27th. We'll take it. He's got top 15 upside, even close to top 10 upside. So, do like Newman. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he comes in starting 24th. And let me tell you, it's never fun playing Ricky Stenhouse. It just usually never works out. But Charlotte is a pretty good track for him. If you look at his recent history here at Charlotte, he's got an average finish of 14.7, average running position of 16.6, does have a top 5, 4 top 20s, 3 top 15s, but it's hard to trust Stenhouse. Would I rather play Newman or Stenhouse? I'd much rather play Ryan Newman. I can trust Ryan Newman a lot more than I can trust Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Momentum this season for Stenhouse has not been great. Average running position of 24.8, which is right around where he's starting. Does have a top 5, got a little bit lucky there, and I did play him that week, so that was nice. But other than that, it's really hard to trust this guy, so I'll be lower on Stenhouse than Ryan Newman, but starting 24th, it's not terrible. Aric Almirola, he started 40th the last race, had a really good race. Did not make the optimal, surprisingly. I mean, he was a smash play, but I don't think he made the optimal, if I remember correctly. I think the optimal was, Truex, Bowman, Elliott, Blaney, right? Blaney, McDowell, Custer, I think that's what it was. I was a little bit surprised there, but yeah, Almirola, he obviously was a very good play still. His average finished at 15.8 here at Charlotte, but he's starting 6th, so he's going to fall back. So I don't really have any interest in Aric Almirola this week. I mean, it's not like he's bad here, but he's starting way too high. I like the price tag, but just can't do it at this qualifying spot. Same with Austin Dillon. He's starting 7th. You guys know I don't like Austin Dillon. I am not going to play him. Yes, he does have a win here. That was because of fuel mileage. Not going to happen again unless something miraculous happens again, which I don't think is going to happen. So Austin Dillon, not really on my radar, starting 7th. There's really no reason to play him. Average running position is 17.3 at this track. Average running position this season is 17.8. Don't see why I would really want to play Austin Dillon starting 7th. There is better plays on the board. Christopher Bell. 2 impressive races in a row for Christopher Bell, but starting 12th, probably going to finish lower than 12th. I mean, I know he had a pretty good race last night, but I don't see it happening again. I know he finished 10th, but if you replicated that, I would be shocked. It's possible. Toyotas have been very good at Charlotte, but I don't trust it. I don't think you guys do either. So probably not going to have too much Christopher Belen. For the most part, it's been a pretty bad season for him besides those last 2 races. But it is nice seeing him have improvement. On the season, he's got an average running position of 22.4, average finish of 23.3. But he has notched 2 top 15s in a row. So Bell's getting stronger, but I'm not sure if I believe in him enough yet to play him starting 12th. Busch is starting 11th. He did really well last night, but again, he's in an awkward starting spot. I don't really have too much interest. He does have 4 top 20s, but we need a top 10 starting 11th. I mean, we need a top 10. We need at least close to a top 15. I know he's only 6,700, but I think it's pretty likely he loses spots here. MDB starting extremely too high. I know he's really cheap, but starting 4th, you just can't do it. He was chalked for a good reason last night because he was starting 33rd, but starting 4th, he's not going to lead laps. He's going to probably finish outside the top 10, so it's going to be a pass for me on MDB. Ty Dillon, he is 6,300, starting 25th, but I do have interest here. So this has not been the greatest track for Ty Dillon, average finish of 25.4, average running position of 25.2, but we don't have that many good cheap guys to play, so Ty Dillon feels like a guy we're probably going to have at least in some lineups. Not saying you go all in by any means, but because it's not been a great track for him. But if you look at his numbers this season, he's got an average running position of 22.4, average finish of 19.2. So he's got an average running position inside the top 20. He's got 4 top 20 so far this season, 1 top 15. So I think Ty Dillon can move up a couple spots. Not expecting anything too spectacular, but I think he can flirt with the top 20, which we would take all day. I know it's not great at 6,300, but do you really want to play Corey LaJoie starting 23rd, Nemechek starting 5th, Custer 9th? I don't really, so this is almost as good as we're going to get down here. So Ty Dillon, I like him. Daniel Suarez in the lawnmower starting 28th. Look, Suarez is a guy that just hangs around long enough to have a decent finish because he starts in the back. And I say decent finish for relative where he starts in his price tag. He might move up a couple spots, but I preferred it last week and he was starting 37th. Now in 28th, it's pushing it a little bit because he probably is not going to finish anywhere inside the top 25. So I don't think there's much room for growth, but you can throw him in just to hope he moves up a couple spots. His numbers are going to look really good here, but don't forget, guys, he was in Stewart-Haas equipment. That has changed now. He's now in the lawnmower of the 96 car, and that's just slow. This season, he's got an average running position of 28.2, which is right where he's starting. Average finish of 26.7. So it's not an exciting play, but it might just be okay at the end. So don't expect too much out of Suarez. Parise, he was fine. What did he start? 29th last race, finished 22nd. So that went pretty well for him. But just overall, not the greatest track for him. Average finish at 27, but it's only a 2-race sample size, so we can't really put too much stock into there. If you look at his momentum so far this season, average running position at 24.1, average finish at 27.8. Not too pretty. His numbers at large ovals, he's got an average finish of 22.5, which is respectable, but I mean, starting 22nd, there's not much room for improvement. I'd probably rather play Suarez, so not a lot of interest in Parise. Custer starting way too high despite having a great race last night. He started 28th, I think, and he finished 13th. Really good race for Custer, but he's starting way too high. Nemechek starting extremely too high. Just, you can't play him. Poole's probably going to finish 30th. He's 5,600. He's cheap, but he's probably going to finish 30th. So there's not really much room for improvement. His average running position this season is 30, so again, he's probably going to finish like 30th. He's okay, but I don't think he's going to move up or anything. Corey LaJoie starting way too high at 23rd. Probably right where he's going to finish, if not lose a couple of spots. Josh Bilicki, he's 37th, so he can move up a couple spots possibly. But I don't expect too much. If you look at his last 5 races at large oval, he's got an average running position of 33.9, average finish of 33. I think he had 1 race so far this season. He finished 34th, which is up a couple spots. So I guess it's not terrible, but the upside's very, very limited with Bilicki. And I typically usually just X out Gase, Half Hill, any of these guys. I just don't play them. Especially McDowell starting 3rd. You can't do that either. So about as low as I'm willing to go is maybe Bilicki. But really the preferred one would be Suarez. So it'll be tough because we have a lot of good expensive salary guys, or PD guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how roster construction works out. I'm pretty curious to see how my projections work some lineups out. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you are new to the channel, remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you haven't already. Check me out on Patreon if you want to support my content. I put a lot of extra work into that every single week. You get access to all my extra stuff. We're going to be doing the live stream on Wednesday, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So wish you guys the best of luck, and feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below, and follow me on Twitter.